Welcome to PhD with Women on It, Hack the Future. My name is Beata Young, and today's PhD Positivity Hack delivered will be by our guest, Reny Morsch. Topic: Career Change. A pay cut can make you richer. Episode 56 starts here. Let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on Women on It, an inclusive forum of women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to that hustle because empathy is my motto, and empathy is critical when you are changing your career. This is the last episode in the Women History Month, which falls into March, strangely enough. International Women's Day can be every day. We aim to make waves, break the bias, and change the ratio. Use words like hire, promote, pay, raise, bonus, fund, invest in, enrich, give equity, elect, lead, and don't just say it, just do it. Before we dive into the topic, let me mention a few highlights. Congratulations to Robo founder Vladlena Dufresne for being accepted into Great Business Accelerator program. It's great to see Vladlena always on the go, go, go. Thank you, Jamie Allen, for his relentless support to diversity, Women on It, and its founder. That would be me. Moreover, his great quote, having kids is a perfect example of testing in production, makes so much sense. I could even swap it to having husband is a perfect example of testing in production. Congratulations to Noreen Cesario for the successful co-hosting of OWIT UK, Organization for Women and Men Working in International Trade and Business, for International Women's Day. And I hope you all can join Mariela Camilleri and her Business Professional Women Network in Malta for the launch of the Girl to Leader campaign 2022, which uses as a roadmap the Charter of the Girls' Rights. In today's episode, we are going to learn career change, a pay cut that can make you richer. Making a leap in professional career is exciting, but oftentimes overwhelming and intimidating. Much more pursuing a career in a whole new industry. Since the pandemic started, 20% of workers have changed careers according to survey from Prudential. 46% of employees are considering a career change, per data collected by Microsoft. The job list survey reports that most people were happier after they switched careers. Money shouldn't be the only motivator when deciding on a career, and taking a job solely because the pay is appealing can increase the likelihood that the job will not work for you in the long run. Our PhD guest, Reny Morsch, has decided it's time to enter a new career path after 31 years of working in the financial industry. She has been a lover of fashion and costumes since childhood, leading her to take a postgraduate course and eventually graduate with distinction in the theatre costume at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. She has been working as a costume designer and maker, as well as costume supervisor for theatre and film productions. Reny specializes in corsetry and millinery and is currently working as a milliner for Stephen Jones Millinery Limited and Awon Millinery. She also runs her own label, Rebels and Mavericks, selling bespoke clothing and hats. Join us on a new PhD episode and discuss the important steps and tips that you need to know when making a career change or starting a new career. Reny, let's start with a simple question. Where in the world are you today? It's probably a little less hot as I am at the moment in beautiful by nature Texan Caicos.
Hello, Beata, and hello, everybody who's watching us. Yes, I'm currently in Bad Homburg, which is my place of birth. I'm visiting my dad, and it's indeed quite a bit colder here, hence my roll neck jumper. So not beautiful palm trees in the background, just a curtain.
So, sorry, that name was Baltimore.
Bad
It's
Homburg. It's a
Bad Hamburg. Ah, yeah, but where is that?
small town near Frankfurt,
Near
Germany.
Frankfurt, Germany. What a beautiful transition from TCI to Germany. But really, your workshop has place in the center of the universe of fashion. Get the London look, right?
Yeah, the center of the universe of fashion, of theater, and I would say nowadays even film productions, because the UK is becoming more and more important in being a location where films are being made. So second to Hollywood, if you want.
Huh? Absolutely. Hollywood Hills and all the beautiful of USA. I enjoyed last week. I was in Miami. Now it's a slightly different fashion, slightly on the verge of fashion from Russian, but let's not mention because it may cause some row over the fashion choices. So let's start with the question. Hat, millinery, what's the difference?
Hat and millinery. Well, in millinery, we make hats, we make hat pieces. So, from very traditional hats to the most dramatic things you see on stage in the West End or in films. So, everything, the whole range is in my hands when I'm doing millinery.
So I have to admit to you, I really enjoyed last year exhibition at Victoria and Albert Museum in London. They did Alice in Wonderland, and
Oh,
there was
yes,
a special chapter on Mad Hatters. And
yes.
I was actually reflecting. I was asking my husband about the difference between the millinery and hat maker, and he explained it all to me. But also he said that's where Mad Hatter comes from because there is a story behind it. Do you know, Rennie, why Mad Hatter?
I think there was in the old days when they used chemicals, there was lead in there, and it drove people. It basically destroyed their brain cells, and it drove them mad. And that's where the Mad Hatter has come from, because of the chemicals that were used in the trade.
Mm. But you are in the millinery. You're not a mad person, or are you?
Some people say I am. I certainly fall into the weirdo category for a lot of people, because I do love a crazy hat, and I always have. There are pictures of me, my parents took when I was a child. Oh yeah, I definitely had a hat on, and sometimes I would put a wig even underneath. So the fable for costuming and hats has always been there with me. So in that respect, I'm mad, but nowadays materials we use in millinery are not that harmful anymore. And if we work with harmful chemicals, we are wearing special masks to prevent breathing in fumes and harmful material. So there is a safety procedure in place nowadays. So I think we've lost.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry. We had a cut of the internet for a second, but I was wondering. So my question is really going towards the madness of going from a cushy job because you had a very nice and cushy career, and then going into something that is perceived not so stable job. So can you tell us how did you start?
It was actually a relatively gradual move because I've always, as a teenager, I made my own clothes. The sewing machine was my best friend, and basically every piece of fabric I could find in the house was made into something to wear. Every Saturday night when I was going clubbing, the Saturday afternoon I spent on the sewing machine making my outfit for the night. So I've always kept a little bit of that, making things on the side when I was working in the financial industry. In 2006, I discovered Morley College in London. And because I never had a formal training in sewing or how to use the machine, how to work with a sewing pattern, I decided, okay, let's start with the basics, do a basic sewing class at Morley's. Evening class, fantastic people, and it was also kind of a means to make new friends. And I finally learned from scratch how to sew. And so because I really enjoyed this course, I took on the next course. I went to an advanced course, then checked out other courses of them till I basically run out of evening courses I could do after work. The next level was at work. They were offering the possibility to go part-time. So I reduced my working week to a 4-day week and had 1 day to do my creative stuff. And I could enroll in day courses at Morley College, which I did. So I did corsetry there. And this got me more and more into the subject. So I really dive deeper into specialty clothes making, because you would call corsetry is a kind of very special form of clothes making because it requires different skills. And so, yes, I did then a summer short course at Central St. Martin's in costume design. And the tutor of this short course, I discussed it with him after the classes, and he was actually a tutor at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. And he said to us, we have exactly what you're looking for. We offer a postgraduate diploma in theatre costume at RADA. We have an open day. Why don't you come and have a look and see what we do? Because my biggest concern was always, I'm not good enough to start a fashion degree or costume degree at Central St. Martin's, because it's got this massive, big reputation. You have John Galliano and Alexander McQueen, both graduates from Central St. Martin's. So it's quite a benchmark. So I was really a bit, am I really at that age good enough to do this? And my interest was always on the wild side, and costume for me is the wild side of fashion. And hence I got into this costume thing, as I call it. And yes, this tutor, Gary, encouraged me to go to that open day, which I did. And I came out and I was almost moved to tears, because every single department in that drama school was something I was interested in. So making props, making costumes, scenic art, absolutely fantastic, overwhelming. I came out and this is what I want to do.
So you've had a career of how many years, or what age were you when you decided to do the pay cut and career change?
That was the classic turning point, midlife crisis at the age of 50. So
Oh,
in 2016, in May, I turned 50, and in June, I got the offer. Well, obviously, before that, I applied for one of these places at RADA to study theatre costume. And again, I thought they only take 4 people. And there's always the self doubt. Am I good enough? Are they going to take me? Why should they take me?
mm,
Because, yeah, there are a lot of very talented people out there. What can I bring to the table? And Gary, the tutor, actually said to me, "You can bring a lot to the table.
mm.
If you want, I organize you another meeting with the head of costume and just ask her any question." And she also said, "Yeah, what you did in your previous job, the business development, you have project management skills, you have budgeting skills, um, time management, you know the basics and the very important basics of how to run a costume department in a theater, because these skills are all necessary for that. It's not just the creativity, the ideas of a costume or the skills to make the costume. It's also this, what I call admin behind it, that is important. So
Mm.
this gave me, this really encouraged me to, yes, give it a go. Let's see, let's apply and see where I get from there. And
That's That's amazing, Rennie's story, because but it also reminds me so many other women, and the story of Cindy Gallop meeting some woman who said, "Well, I would like to apply for that job, but do you think I could do it? I mean, do you think I'm qualified?" And she said, "Oh my God, just do it, because you've done so much, and we still like to validate whether we are worthy of attention, whether we have it." So it reminds me the story of so many women who just don't feel the courage of going and applying for whatever they feel they would love to do.
yeah, absolutely. And it's always, it runs through our genes, I think, because as women, probably we've been taught from childhood on to question ourselves and to accommodate. And then my husband said to me, "Well, just apply. What else can happen than a no?" And I said, "Yeah, indeed,
Yeah.
nothing else can happen. And if there is a no, I need to find out what I need to do in order to change it to a yes next time, and that's it." So I didn't have
Well,
to
there is
find out because I did get the offer with the first attempt.
absolutely, as they say, if the door is closed, find the window of
Yes,
opportunity.
yes.
There you go. We have lovely comments from our audience and my husband in production, who is referring to this beautiful Jamie Allen quote of having kids is a perfect example of testing in production, or having husband is a perfect example of testing in production. Well, thank you. Best testing in production husband. I'll take whatever plaudits you generously offer. You're welcome, Patrick. We have a lovely comment from Esmeralda. Good day, Beata and Reny. Oh, and I'm loving that hat, Beata. Well, we're gonna see some hats from Reny's website shortly. And we have In Love and in Pain. Nice hat, Beata. Love it. Let's bring these hats and let's show some of the beautiful features on Reny's website, please. We've seen you in different hairdo as well, so it's quite exciting. We see some very funky designs here. Can you tell us what inspiration you get? Oh, there is Reny.
This particular hat you're seeing there, that was an inspiration from a 1940s hat that I think was exhibited in the Metropolitan Museum in New York. And I have a lovely navy 1940s skirt suit, and I thought I need a hat with that. And this is the outcome. And I wanted something, because in the 1940s, you see a lot of fedora style hats for women. So the originally male hats that were transformed into women's hats in this particular era of the time. And yeah, this is one of it. The next one we're seeing, it's a bowler hat. I made it custom for an actor in a theatre play. I was costuming. So it's a traditional bowler hat in the sense when they were worn in the Victorian time. So how this would be a Victorian hat. Rather
So
than
let me ask you, Reny, this is maybe a more kind of a fashion question than really technology or leadership question, because we are focused on technology and leadership skills. But I wanted to ask you, because it's also how we show ourselves, how we are pictured, how we picture ourselves, whether it's social media, whether it's by us attending different venues. I've noticed that not every hat can suit the person. Would you say so, or would you say you just go for it, whatever you like, wear it?
I think definitely whatever you like, go for it, because when you like something, it reflects your character, because otherwise you wouldn't like it. We can come to does it suit you? Does it really matter if other people think it suits you? If you like it on it suits you. That's my opinion.
When you like something, just go for it because it reflects your character. That's a beautiful way from.
Sorry, I can't hear you at the moment.
I hope be interruption in the sound system. Can use for a milliner, but also do hats for men by the sounds of it.
Yes,
For a friend
absolutely.
asks.
Yes, I do hats for
Great.
men. My husband is my biggest fan, and he's also the person who really supported and encouraged me to do this and to go for it. I think I mentioned it earlier with the application, and it was also when I received the offer, I was shocked. Like, what do I do now? And he just stood there and said coolly to me, well, I would be really, really disappointed if you weren't taking on this offer. I said, okay, I'll do it. And of course, now he gets a lot of hats. He hasn't got that much hair anymore, and therefore he's quite an avid hat wearer and loves his custom-made hats. So yes, I personally, my preference in costumes as well as hats is actually men's stuff. I prefer to design and make for men because I've got the perfect model at home as well. So
Absolutely. So we've got another question from Olga Vasina. Reny, what was your first hat?
my first hat. When I was a kid, I had this wonderful baby blue, what you call a fisherman's hat. They're now back in fashion. So it's a German fisherman's hat, and it was baby blue fake leather, and I think you can call that my first hat. And my first hat that I bought myself was in 1979, a pink Fiorucci straw hat.
Mm. I wonder if we can find it somewhere online, Reny.
Yes, you can find it on my Instagram. I have a
Oh,
I have a photo of me wearing this hat on my Instagram page.
and your Instagram page handle is
It's Reny Morsch.
Reny Morsch. Let's head there later, but in the meantime, we've got another question from Beata Bellon. Does it make more sense to start playing with a fresh mind fashion or as a young person without life experience? That's a tricky one.
That's a tricky one. I guess you can't really generalize it. Of course, as a young person without life experience, you have the ability to completely think outside of the box and come out with absolutely mad ideas of fashion and what to wear. I think being a young person and starting off in fashion, studying fashion design, brings an advantage in itself because of that. But the later start with life experience and with everything that life has thrown onto you, this is something you can bring into fashion as well. So I wouldn't say there is one advantage to the other being older or being younger. It's what you make of it. Every age has its positive sides, and yeah.
Mm. I guess it's also the target market is quite wealthy people, right? I would say because to make a hat from the scratch, it costs quite a lot of money and it's handmade. So, what bracket are we talking about, Reny? If somebody would like to order a hat,
It of course depends on the actual hat. If you go, for example, for a felt hat for a man, I would say you start at around £200 for a simple one, and of course there is no limit to the upside. From me, if you look at other designers who are better known than me, then that can be more expensive. So if you go to Stephen Jones or if you go to Philip Tracy for a men's hat, you will start at a higher bracket. But for me, as a relative beginner, it would start about there. But the end is open, as
mm,
usual.
mm,
Depends on
depend.
what you want. At the moment, I'm doing a few commissions, but I want to get away from that because I find it, I want to be more creative on my own side. Commissions are a little bit more onto what the client wants. And I'd rather be on the side, I design something and then I find the client rather than the other way around.
Right. We've got another question that is related to our career change and pay cut discussion. Agata is asking, fabulous show. How long did your studies last, Reny?
If you only look at the postgrad diploma, that was 2 years. But of course, you have to factor in the evening courses I did in preparation to be able to do this course and bring in some skills, because you don't, in a postgrad course, you don't start from scratch. It's in the word postgrad. So you have some experience already. After this course, after the 2 years, I then did some more courses in millinery for another year, because I decided I want to specialize a little bit more in millinery. So that's, you can say, a total of 3 years. But of course, during that year, I've been doing millinery courses because that was on a part-time basis as well. I was already working in some costume jobs.
Mm. Olga has got another question. Hats used to be such a feature of everyday life. Do you wear a hat or hats every day, Reny? And what should we wear these days?
I wear a hat most days. Usually when I go out, I put on a hat. And these hats are most of the time berets, soft hats, because they're easy to put on, they're easy to put in a bag, because nowadays you're not sitting in a restaurant anymore wearing a hat. You take your hat off. And then if you're wearing a big hat, it's the question of where do you put it. In the past, when hats were still a staple of everyday life, like in the 50s, 60s, and I think they ceased to be popular starting in the 60s as an everyday thing. You had hat racks in restaurants. You could, for men mostly, because men were the ones who took off the hat in the restaurant, whereas women left their hats on. It's usually a question of practicality. Of course, ascot is a thing I love, and yes, I wear a hat, and I hope that I manage to wear quite a spectacular hat every time I go to ascot. I managed once to get onto the Evening Standard always takes photos of ladies' days hats, and I was on there once, so I call that a big success.
Hmm. Fabulous. Tell us about that. How did that happen and what was the hat that they featured?
um, it was actually a hat a friend of mine made, and it was made out of a French cheese box. You know, you have these very thin wood veneer boxes for camembert, and
Mm.
it was one of this, and had two little mice sitting on this cheese box, and of course decorated with a bit of glitter, a bit of some flowers, and safety pins, because it was a very punky hat. And it happened, we were all meeting in Waterloo Station underneath the big clock to go together to Escort. And that's where the photographer and the reporter of the Evening Standard spotted us and asked whether they could take a photo of me wearing that hat.
That's an amazing story, and that's how you made a name for yourself. So, of course, these moments of glory are quite rare. How do you sustain yourself? How do you keep yourself motivated, especially in the times of COVID, I wonder? Because you started in 2016.
Yeah, COVID was quite a problem. I was working for Stephen Jones. I'm still working for Stephen Jones, but I started there before COVID, and luckily I got furloughed, so it wasn't so much a problem of loss of income. But of course, the motivation during lockdown, we had quite a funny thing going with a group of friends. We had a costume challenge. So when other people did pub quizzes, we had a costume challenge where we set a theme where everybody had to make costumes. It started off with the silly idea of, oh, let's have some drinks over Zoom, but we dress up a little bit. Oh, we dress up Tudor style. Oh, who's up for that? And one couple of our friends decided to also decorate their room. So they weren't only appearing in costume, they had their whole room decorated in Tudor style. And this really kicked it off, where we decorated rooms to the theme and made costumes and met with drinks over Zoom every 3 or 4 weeks, because you need preparation time. Again, I lost your...
Yes, you lost my voice because I muted myself when I was drinking some icy water. We are just scrolling through some of the work you did during lockdown and after lockdown. I guess it's not as difficult as it used to be. We can start enjoying our social life, and you can post some interesting new hats design. So. Really, going back to the beginning of your career as a milliner or hat maker, you told us about the fact that the price range is quite high for average, let's say, person working, not working in banking, for example, or finance, as your case was. So, how did you start the pricing process? How do you actually check how much you spend versus how much the material cost, and how do you apply prices?
Of course, I have my cost of material, and I basically take the time, how long it takes me to make a hat. I give myself an hourly wage for that, and then I multiply the outcome to the final price. It should normally contain also my fixed costs of studio rent, electricity, and that. But as my studio is in the loft, I don't factor that in. But for someone who has got a rented studio, that is also something that should be in the price. But it's my hourly wage plus material and then a multiplying factor.
Right. So you've been in the business for 6 years now. Is that correct?
Well, that's including studies. So I started the course in 2016 and graduated in 2018. So I'd say in the business for 4 years, 3.5, as
Plus
we're just
minus.
in the beginning.
Mm.
Yes.
Beautiful. So you definitely need a support system. You need a husband who believes in you, or whoever in your family, in your circle, believes in you, to enhance that self-belief in your ability to deliver. Now, let's go into your website with a beautiful blue hair. Can you make an order on your website?
There is a contact sheet, because I haven't got a collection on the website. It's not an e-commerce. There's a contact sheet where people can get in touch and ask for commissions. I have not yet built a collection. I'm thinking about that, and again, I want to start with a men's collection of hats. But I also have an Etsy shop which is called Rebels and Mavericks, like
Mhm.
my brand. And this Etsy shop is closed at the moment because my business I had on the shop was mainly with the EU, and Brexit has put full brakes on it. It has been an absolute and utter nightmare, and therefore I have closed the shop. And I'm now rethinking of what I'm doing in the future, and it's probably not going to be on Etsy, but an own website, Shopify, supported around that. But first of all, I'm going to work on a collection, and because I want to tell a bit of a story with a brand. I want to have this brand identity, and this is something that needs time to develop.
Mm.
And yeah,
Thinking process.
yeah,
Well, we definitely recommend you our previous show with Tamika Bikam. We were talking about personal brand, but also a couple of shows ago, we were also talking about branding of your business. So, Rebels and Mavericks are coming back to Etsy or whichever platform we may see you on, Reny Morsch. Let's go to back to the topic of the pay cut that can make you richer. Which areas of your life did this pay cut make you richer?
oh, definitely self-esteem, satisfaction with what I'm doing, finally being able to actually live out my creativity. Uh, Financial industry, yes, I had fantastic jobs. I had nice pay coming in. I've met great people, and now I have shifted levels. I have met people I admired as a teenager, because Stephen Jones, for example, he was in a group called, well, group of people that is now known as the Blitz Kids, the New Romantics. I was a massive fan, and I was, as a teenager, part of the Frankfurt New Romantics, if you can make the comparison. So
Mm.
I admired these people from this group. Now I'm working for them, and for me, this is absolute. I love it. I enjoy it. I have met super interesting people. I have made so many connections. It's yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I'm basically going from one excitement to the next excitement, and this is not the kind of excitement that I had when I was working in the financial industry, because there was the excitement on payday. Here I've got the excitement actually when I go to work, when I'm meeting people after work, when I'm networking. That's the wow, not the paycheck. I can definitely say that. I still need the support of my husband. And this is also the thing for making a career change from a well-paid job. Of course, I saved for that, because this had been in the back of my mind for a long, long time, basically since I left school. My goal was, this is what I'm saving for, and this is what I want to do, because I knew I needed money for that, because it takes time to actually generate a livable income out of this. So
So, Rennie, so you said it wasn't like a career change, immediate career change. You had it at the back of your mind. You had prepared for that. There were some obstacles in the process, like nobody knew about pandemic happening, but you are here for the long run. And that's something that fascinates me because it definitely requires a lot of stamina. And I have to say, you're talking about people you admire. And I have to say, I admire you. And I have admiration for every single person that I have met on this channel on Positivity Hack Delivered. And also, thank you so much for this very, very positive vibe we are getting from Rennie today. Let's go into some of the comments. IPOV, my husband is very active. Sounds like another candidate for best husband in production. There you go.
absolutely.
Absolutely. And then can't see myself looking for a corset anytime soon, but the idea of a nice new fedora, tempting. And I have to say, Rennie, that it is actually thanks to Patrick who told me about your amazing career at Euronext and then shifting into this new mad idea of creating millinery, or hats, or being on your own in the world of unknown and starting from the scratch. That's really admirable. Reny, I wanted to ask you, because we are talking all about career change, about how we can make ourselves richer by going and having this freedom of creativity, freedom of making a choice and choosing your client and saying no to client and doing the things that you love. And I have to mention here Katrina Feck, a co-founder of the website Flickr. She says the most successful entrepreneurs I know are optimistic. It's part of the job description. So, question for you, Reny. How do you keep yourself so optimistic?
Oh, and I think I'm generally an optimistic person. I think I inherited from that from my dad. We always, yeah. For me, the class is always going back to that old boring example. The class is always half full. There's always this, what I said earlier. What's the worst case scenario that can happen? Oh, fine. No, we're looking at the best outcome. And I think I always tend to say, if you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't try, you can't succeed. So try it, and if you don't succeed the first time, maybe try again, change something, see what didn't go that well in the first place. But this is how I stay optimistic. There's always um, something that inspires me. I might just look at a fantastic fashion photography or an exhibition. I went to the Christian Dior exhibition at the V&A. Again, that was something. Oh my God, so inspiring. I tend to come out of these things with thousands of ideas and a real buzz that I get from it. And this is what motivates me the whole time.
Absolutely. People who never do any more than they get paid for never get paid for any more than they do. Albert Hubbard said. Thank you very much, Racy, for that useful quotation. Reny, what advice would you give to females who wanted to do that career change and pay cut?
Definitely look at it like you would look at a business. Make a plan, set your milestones, what you want to achieve in a certain time frame. Look at where you want to be in the end. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And then make your small steps. How can you get there? And yeah, I would say every little milestone, like when I did my evening courses, every course I added was one more tick on my mental list. Yeah, I've done this now. Now I know this. I can do this. So let's go to the next higher thing and do this. So it's having a plan, but of course financially um, have a plan as well. If you don't have savings, I personally hate debts, so I couldn't go to university and have a student debt. That would kind of pull me down, but that's a personal thing. Um, I tend to think it's also very German because you get raised, no, you save money and then you can spend it. So for me, it was having this having these savings as a financial background um, gave me a lot of, freed my headspace that I didn't have to worry, is this resulting immediately in a job? I knew I had, after graduation, I gave myself 1.5 to 2 years to establish myself somewhere in the industry. Um, and I didn't really know where in the industry, but I thought if I haven't achieved an employment or gainful employment in this time, I have to start to think again because it's not working. I have to.
Right. We've got Olga Vesina is asking a question. What is your greatest source of inspiration, Reny? Hashtag love this show.
In inspiration in terms of favorite designers. Yeah, I love fashion. I love how people dress, and my favorites are definitely Galliano, Dior, and Alexander McQueen. If you have seen these clothes, absolutely wonderful, and that just brings out my creativity. One of those things. Nature as well. I very often go into the woods on my own, and I look at leaves. It can be a dead leaf. It can be a piece of a broken twig. Anything. I get inspiration for that because I love nature. And in some of my hats, you will also find a lot of nature represented. I keep thinking the hat, it was a hat I made that got me into RADA, and it was the same hat I made that got me this job at Stephen Jones. And it was something that consisted of Icelandic moss, twigs from trees out of my garden, real fern, and some fake mushrooms. So
That's something that Bjork would probably happily wear. Let's go into the book inspiration. Another question I have for you. What is the number one book you can sit and think, oh, I wish I read it before I started my pay cut?
There is actually no book which I read before. I can tell you the book that really gave me the kick to do it, and that was Viv Albertine's biography. Viv Albertine is a member of the Slits, which was one of the early punk, all-girl punk groups. And I found her biography absolutely inspirational, and this is the book I would choose. Oh, if I should have read that book long before, because it would have probably started my career change a bit earlier.
Beautiful. Reny, are you working on any exciting new projects right now?
Nothing really new. I'm working on with both Stephen Jones and Awon Golding on their new collections to bring them into the public. And this is quite exciting because I always love making new collections, and then we'll see how well these collections sell. So if there are any viewers here who need a hat for Ascot or any other occasion in the summer, have a look.
We'll definitely share your show and also share your very important quote, which is a life lesson quote. If you could tell us, how did it impact you in your career or in your life?
Yeah, I think I mentioned my life lesson quote: "If you don't ask, you don't get." And
Mm,
this has always been the thing in everything I did. I just thought, yeah, well, let's go and ask. You might get it, and it was like that in. Oh God, I have to think of the year. It's such a long time ago. Yeah, when I was doing my banking apprenticeship, and there was this foreign exchange trader in Germany talking about how they are looking for trainees to become FX traders after the apprenticeship and we should apply. In the German language, you distinguish between a male and a female, and he was only talking about male. So I asked him, well, is it open for female? Because you're only talking about males here. And he said, yeah, of course, open to everyone. And I said, okay, I'm going to apply for it. I was the only woman who applied. I got it. Because I guess no other woman asked. And again, for a certain time, I was the only female FX spot trader trading back then, dollar mark, for the book of the bank in Germany, because that's what I wanted. And I asked for it and I worked to get it. So
takes a lot of courage, Reny. I admire that. Female FX sports trader, a milliner, and going into different ways of dealing with pandemic, as well as preparing for the fear of unknown, because it's so much easier when you prepare for different optionalities. Whatever will happen is not a fear anymore. Reny, it's time for our favorite question. Imagine the pandemic is over and you can have breakfast anywhere in the world with any person in the world. Who would you choose? And will it be breakfast?
no, it won't be breakfast because I'm an absolute morning grumpy person. Give me a brunch and give me that brunch. And I have two favorites. It's either Michelle Clapton, who is a costume designer. Sorry about that. My voice is going in the last few minutes. Who's a costume designer for Game of Thrones. Or Sandy Powell, also a costume designer.
Fabulous. So, costume designers, you would have beautiful brunch. And where would you go with them? Take your time to have that sip of water.
Into my kitchen.
Or maybe schnapps, as the case
No.
might be.
No, I think that brunch would be in my kitchen because that's a really comfy place, and that's where you can have a proper conversation and you can go as long as you like.
So the brunch would be cooked by you?
Oh no. That's where the best husband in production comes in again.
Oh, fabulous. That's great to hear. Thank you, Reny, for this fabulous show. Ladies and gentlemen, we are heading to the end of our discussion with Reny, and we are talking about our career cut. We are talking also about next week PhD, which is Creating Happiness, Key Shifts for Great Leadership. We've seen some great leadership qualities even Reny today, and I would like to encourage you to have courage and to stay updated and sure you never miss a positivity hack delivered. Follow Woman on it and turn on notifications to be alerted once a video has been released. It takes less time to do a thing than it does to explain why you did it wrong, as Henry Longfellow has more points. I would like to also thank our lovely audience. Patrick Young, I Esmeralda, In Love and in Pain, Olga Vasina and Agata Bellon were very sweetly commenting and adding a little bit of insights and great discussion into today's show. Thank you very much, Reny. Have a great day and see you next week.
Thank you very much, Beata and team, for this lovely opportunity. It was nice talking to you and have a wonderful evening.